AITA for not attending my family Christmas gathering because I can't afford the $250 white elephant gift. I'm a 29-year-old woman, and our family Christmas tradition has been the highlight of my holiday season for as long as my memory stretches back. Every year, our sprawling clan, parents, siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, and even cherished family friends converges for a day brimming with festive chaos, delectable food, infectious laughter, and spirited games. But the crown jewel of our celebration, the moment everyone anticipates with childlike excitement, is our legendary white elephant gift exchange. For those unfamiliar with the concept, white elephant exchanges are typically light-hearted affairs filled with playful surprises. In our family, it's always been a delightful medley of quirky, creative, and occasionally outrageous gifts. I vividly remember the year someone brought an enormous inflatable flamingo pool float that caused absolute hysteria, and another time when a waffle maker shaped like Darth Vader's helmet became the most coveted item of the night. There was even that unforgettable Christmas when my mischievous cousin managed to sneak in a live goldfish in a crystal bowl. It was absolute pandemonium. The gifts never fail to spark joy, and the exchange itself is pure, beautiful chaos in the most magical way possible. However, this year, everything changed dramatically. My family decided to raise the price limit for the white elephant gift exchange. Initially, I assumed it would be a modest increase from our long-standing $50 limit to perhaps $75. But when my mother dropped the bombshell, $250, I literally burst into nervous laughter, convinced I had misheard. I asked her to repeat herself, certain it was some elaborate joke, but her expression remained dead serious. Apparently, some of our more financially blessed relatives had proposed this astronomical increase during a group discussion, and everyone present had enthusiastically agreed it would elevate the gift exchange to new heights of excitement. I, along with several others, wasn't even present for this monumental decision that would completely transform our beloved tradition. I understand that inflation has been merciless lately, and perhaps a slight increase would have been reasonable. But $250? That's an astronomical sum for what's supposed to be a light-hearted, fun exchange. The whole essence of a white elephant gift exchange lies in its playful, sometimes silly nature, not in showcasing expensive presents that could strain someone's monthly budget. Here's the harsh reality of my situation. I'm not exactly swimming in disposable income. This year has been a financial roller coaster from hell, between unexpected medical bills that seem to materialize out of nowhere, rent costs that keep climbing like they're training for the Olympics, and the soul-crushing expenses of daily life. I'm barely keeping my head above water. Most months, after paying for the bare necessities, my bank account looks about as empty as a mall parking lot at midnight. It's not that I don't want to participate. This tradition has always been the highlight of my Christmas season. But the thought of spending $250 on a single gift feels about as realistic as me buying a vacation home on Mars. When I tried explaining this to my mother, hoping she'd understand my predicament, her reaction felt like a punch to the gut. She dismissed my concerns with a wave of her hand, labeling me as petty, and insisting that it's just one gift. She urged me to look at it as a fun tradition and not stress so much about the cost, as if financial anxiety was something I could simply switch off like a light bulb. My father, ever the pragmatist, jumped into the fray with his own brand of unhelpful wisdom. He accused me of overreacting and missing the point entirely, claiming that it's not about the money, but about the spirit of Christmas. He even had the audacity to suggest that I should make it work, because family togetherness is what truly matters. I wanted to scream that they didn't understand the first thing about my financial reality, that this wasn't about being stubborn or difficult, but about genuine economic hardship. What makes this situation even more overwhelming is that this isn't just about the white elephant gift. In our expansive family of 18 to 25 people, I'm also expected to purchase gifts for my immediate family members. Even if I keep those presents modest, the total cost snowballs into a mountain of expenses that threatens to avalanche over my already precarious budget. The white elephant exchange used to be a clever way to participate in the gift giving without breaking the bank, but now it feels like an exclusive club where the price of admission is more than I can afford. When I suggested to my mother that I might skip the gathering altogether if I couldn't participate in the exchange, her reaction was nothing short of theatrical. She accused me of being melodramatic, insisting I was making a mountain out of a molehill, and that my absence would create an awkward atmosphere. I tried explaining that what would be truly awkward would be sitting there like a spectator at a luxury auction, watching everyone else exchange lavish gifts while I sat empty-handed, feeling like a charity case. The mere thought of being in that situation makes my stomach churn with anxiety and my cheeks burn with preemptive embarrassment. The family's reaction to this situation has splintered like a tree struck by lightning. My siblings have become a chorus of conflicting opinions, each singing their own tune about what I should do. A few of them stand in my corner, agreeing that the $250 limit is absolutely ludicrous, though they're planning to participate anyway. bowing to the majority's decision like leaves bending in a storm. Others have taken the just deal with it approach, preaching about how the gathering is about family unity rather than material exchanges. Easy words from those whose wallets aren't screaming in protest. I've been wrestling with this dilemma for days, my thoughts circling like vultures over a carcass. The guilt of potentially missing our family celebration weighs on my heart like a lead anchor. I cherish these moments with my family, the warmth of togetherness, the shared laughter, the joy of celebration. But this new price limit feels like a velvet rope being drawn across the entrance to our tradition, with my financial situation leaving me on the wrong side of it. The pain goes deeper than just missing out on a gift exchange. It's about feeling pushed to the margins of a tradition I've always cherished, all because my bank account doesn't meet the new standard of participation. It's about watching something that once brought pure joy transform into a source of stress and humiliation. The whole situation has left me feeling like an outsider in my own family, and that realization stings like salt in an open wound. Update 1. After days of internal turmoil that felt like a mental game of ping pong, I decided to make one last attempt at finding middle ground. I gathered my courage like a shield and approached my family again, hoping that maybe, just maybe, reason would prevail this time. The $250 limit still felt as ridiculous as trying to fit an elephant into a phone booth, but I was determined to find a compromise that could work for everyone. This time, I approached the situation from a different angle, like a chess player trying a new strategy. I proposed lowering the price limit to something more reasonable, perhaps $50 or $75. This would still represent an upgrade from previous years without turning the exchange into a financial obstacle course. I even suggested we could make it more about creativity than cost, perhaps a challenge to find unique, handmade, or even secondhand items within a $50 limit. It seemed like a perfect solution, a way to preserve the playful spirit of our tradition without excluding anyone. To my surprise, like sunshine breaking through storm clouds, some of my siblings actually rallied behind the idea. A few admitted they'd also been harboring concerns about the new limit, but had been too hesitant to rock the family boat. My sister, particularly enthusiastic, said she loved the idea of a creative challenge, believing it would restore the playful energy that made our gift exchange special in the first place. For a brief, shining moment, hope flickered like a candle in the darkness. But then, like a tornado touching down in the middle of a peaceful meadow, my parents, particularly my mother, shattered that fragile hope. Her reaction wasn't just negative, it was nuclear. When I brought up the idea of a compromise, she shut it down with the force of a steel trap snapping shut. The $250 limit, she declared with imperial finality, had already been carved in stone, and she wouldn't hear of changing it just because a few people couldn't handle it. The way she spat out the word cheap made it sound like the most grievous sin imaginable, and she accused me of trying to destroy a family tradition by making it all about money. Then came the thunderbolt that nearly knocked me off my feet. My mother casually revealed that she and my father were the masterminds behind the $250 limit all along. All this time, I'd been imagining some wealthy aunt or uncle as the architect of this financial fortress. But no, it was my own parents who had orchestrated this elaborate price hike. According to my mother's grand vision, this elevated price point would weed out the thoughtless gifts and transform our beloved tradition into something more sophisticated. My father attempted to backpedal like a circus unicyclist, claiming it was just a suggestion that everyone else had enthusiastically embraced. But my mother, standing her ground like a general commanding her troops, doubled down harder than a blackjack player with an ace showing. Her words dripped with condescension as she explained how the higher price limit would make the exchange more meaningful, as if meaning could be measured in dollar signs. That's when the truth hit me like a sledgehammer to the chest. This wasn't about family or tradition or even Christmas spirit. This was about status, about transforming our once joyful gift exchange into a showcase of financial prosperity. My parents wanted to elevate the whole affair into something more prestigious. But in doing so, they were strangling the very spirit that made it special in the first place. I couldn't contain myself anymore. The words burst out of me like water through a broken dam as I told them point blank that if they cared more about price tags than the true meaning of Christmas, perhaps they were the ones destroying our tradition. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees as my mother's face transformed into a mask of ice. She accused me of being disrespectful and ungrateful for all their efforts in organizing the holidays, then dramatically hung up the phone with enough force to make me wince. What happened next was like watching a chain reaction in slow motion. The family group chat, usually a peaceful harbor of shared memes and casual conversations, erupted into a war zone. My siblings, who had been maintaining a diplomatic silence, suddenly found their voices, and boy, did they use them. Half of them rushed to my defense, declaring the $250 limit absurd and agreeing that it violated the spirit of our tradition. The other half turned on me like a pack of wolves, accusing me of being overly sensitive and claiming I was trying to ruin Christmas by making it all about myself. The messages in our family chat flew back and forth like arrows in a medieval battle. My younger sister stood firmly in my corner, understanding the financial strain this would place on everyone. But my older brother, ever the family diplomat, suggested I was being entitled and should find a way to make it work if I truly cared about being part of the family, as if love could be measured in dollar amounts. By this point, I felt emotionally drained, like a smartphone battery at 1%. What had started as a personal struggle with a price limit had morphed into a family civil war that would make the War of the Roses look like a friendly game of cards. My mother had stopped speaking to me entirely. My father was attempting to play peacemaker while clearly siding with her, and my siblings were divided like opposing armies on a battlefield. To add insult to injury, several of my cousins joined the fray with their own opinions, suggesting that those who couldn't afford the new limit should simply bow out gracefully instead of creating drama. Their words felt like tiny daggers, implying that my financial situation somehow made me less worthy of participating in our family tradition. It was as if they were saying, if you can't pay to play, you don't deserve a seat at the table. Update 2. Just when I thought this situation couldn't get any more complex, a plot twist worthy of a soap opera emerged. My cousin, one of the quieter, more reserved members of our family, reached out to me privately, like a secret ally emerging from the shadows. Her message landed in my inbox like a lifeline thrown to a drowning person. To my absolute astonishment, she confessed that she shared my concerns about the $250 limit, but had been too intimidated to speak up. Like me, she was struggling financially, and the new price point felt as achievable as climbing Mount Everest in flip-flops. But what truly floored me was her revelation that we weren't alone in our silent rebellion. Apparently, several cousins and even a couple of aunts and uncles were quietly seething about the price limit, but were too afraid to challenge my parents' iron-fisted vision. The irony was thick enough to cut with a knife. My parents' attempt to create their perfect Christmas spectacle had actually spawned an underground resistance movement within the family. My cousin and I, feeling emboldened by our shared dissatisfaction, began crafting a plan like revolutionary leaders plotting in secret. We thought about proposing an alternative gathering, a second, more budget-friendly gift exchange for those who couldn't or didn't want to participate in what we'd started calling the Great Christmas Extravaganza. Update 3. What began as ripples in our family pond has transformed into a tsunami of epic proportions. The situation has spiraled into something that would make Shakespeare's family dramas look like children's bedtime stories. Our once unified family has fractured like a mirror struck by lightning, with each shard reflecting a different version of what Christmas should mean. The breaking point came when my aunt, my mother's own sister, and traditionally the family's peacekeeper, finally broke her diplomatic silence. Like a dormant volcano suddenly erupting, she unleashed years of pent-up frustration, calling my mother elitist and declaring that she had lost sight of Christmas's true meaning. My mother's response was swift and volcanic, her words about appreciation and special occasions shooting out like molten lava. Then, like dominoes falling in slow motion, more family members began speaking their truth. My uncle, my mother's younger brother, and usually the most easygoing person imaginable, dropped the bombshell that he had been planning to skip the gathering entirely because of the astronomical price limit. His confession, delivered with the quiet dignity of someone who had finally found their voice, sent shockwaves through our family's foundation. My mother, watching her carefully constructed Christmas castle crumbling around her, made a dramatic proclamation worthy of a telenovela finale. She was canceling the white elephant exchange entirely. Her declaration that if people can't respect tradition and follow the rules, we won't have won at all, hung in the air like a dark storm cloud. But sometimes, from the ashes of destruction, something beautiful can rise. My cousin, showing more courage than all of us combined, stepped forward with an olive branch that looked more like a Christmas tree. She offered to host an alternative Christmas dinner at her house, a gathering for anyone who felt uncomfortable with the $250 limit or simply wanted a more relaxed, drama-free celebration. My mother's reaction to this suggestion was apocalyptic. She accused my cousin of trying to stage a coup and declared that splitting the gathering would destroy the family. The irony of her words was lost on her. The family was already divided, and her rigid stance had been the wedge driving us apart. And so, the battle lines were drawn like frost patterns on a winter window. One camp, led by my mother and her loyal supporters, would maintain their original plans, complete with the $250 price limit and all its implied grandeur. The other group, which my mother now dramatically refers to as the rebels, would gather at my cousin's house for a more laid-back celebration, where the only price limit would be what each person could comfortably afford. After much soul-searching and several sleepless nights spent staring at my ceiling like it held the answers to life's greatest mysteries, I've made my decision. I'm joining the rebellion at my cousin's house. Initially, the choice felt like betraying my parents, like choosing sides in a war I never wanted to fight. But the more I thought about it, the clearer it became. This isn't about taking sides. It's about choosing to celebrate Christmas in a way that feels authentic and inclusive. My cousin's gathering promises to be everything Christmas should be, full of love, laughter, and genuine connection. We're planning a gift exchange that focuses on creativity and thoughtfulness rather than monetary value. Some people are bringing homemade gifts, others have found unique treasures at thrift stores, and a few are planning gifts that cost under $50 but come with a funny or sentimental twist. It feels like we're returning to the true spirit of our tradition, and I'm genuinely excited about it. The fallout has been intense. My mother still isn't speaking to me, and my father's attempts at peace talks sound more exhausted with each call. But surprisingly, I've found strength in this storm. The support from other family members who felt the same way but were afraid to speak up has been overwhelming. Some have even confessed that they've felt excluded or uncomfortable for years, but never knew how to address it. As Christmas approaches, I'm trying to focus on the positives. My cousin and I are planning what promises to be a wonderful, stress-free celebration. We're bringing back the elements that made our gift exchange special in the first place. The creativity, the surprises, the laughter. Yes, our family is currently divided, but maybe this split was necessary. Sometimes things need to break apart before they can be rebuilt into something better. In the end, this isn't just about a $250 gift limit anymore. It's about standing up for what you believe in, even when it's difficult. It's about creating spaces where everyone feels welcome, regardless of their financial situation. And most importantly, it's about remembering that the true value of Christmas can't be measured in dollars and cents. It's measured in love, inclusion, and joy. Sometimes the best traditions aren't the ones we inherit, but the ones we choose to create for ourselves.